Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the Candid Campers trailer reactions. We got Tones TV and we got George the Italiano with us today. I'm excited for this one, man, because we just did the trailer, the teaser trailer for Terrifier 3, and today they actually dropped Terrifier 3, the full trailer. Both of y'all have not seen it except for the teaser trailer. I don't know if George even seen a
I don't
teaser
even know what
trailer.
the fuck this is, but like,
Dude, I
I'm
love it.
excited.
Yeah, I love it, and that's kind of how I started off with these Terrifier movies. I know nothing about them. No one told me anything except my sister was like, "You need to watch these," and I'm like, "All right." And then once I saw the first one, I'm like, "Oh, that guy looks familiar." So Art is the clown. He's the main character. Once you see it, George, you'll kind of be like, "Oh, I know who that is," especially since you are connected with, like Universal and everything like that, the Horror Night stuff, and he kind of plays roles around the horror scene. So let's get into it a little bit. I kind of want to go over the this one. It has about a $2 million budget, which is a lot for an indie film, where the other ones were in the thousands
Hundred
and
thousands, yeah.
100,000s. Yeah. So um, it's gaining a lot of stardom and a lot of fandom. They started getting a little bit more crazy with some of the casting too. Yeah. So the best part is that they have David Howard Thornton coming back as Art the Clown. I love when you get the same person replaying and reprising their role every single time, especially when they do such a great job. And especially with this character, because this character has, even though he has no words and he doesn't speak, just the actions he has, it's still Art the Clown. If you change that, it would be really hard to replicate a lot of those things. And also, Chris Jericho is in this. When was the last time you heard of Chris Jericho?
Well, we seen him in Percy Jackson.
Oh God, dude, yes.
Okay, so
Uh,
let's re-ask the question. When was the last time you saw Chris Jericho in anything relevant?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, exactly.
It was
Oh
relevant,
man,
just not to us, bro. Fuck.
at all.
But nah, it's been a while since
Most
I've seen anything with Chris Jericho.
But that's a good sign. That means that they are putting a little bit more money into the casting and trying to get a couple familiar faces. The
And
other
don't get me
person
wrong,
that's
he's actually a really good actor.
he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad
Yeah,
at all, and I'm excited to see him in there. The other person was John Abrams or Abrahams,
Abrahams.
which not the biggest name ever, but he's now a familiar face that you would know
Hmm.
and see in this movie. Where the other two, it was very indie. So it's gonna be nice.
Oh yeah,
Before we start up, do you guys have any questions or?
yeah. George, I was gonna ask you, what is your favorite horror film, if you had to pick one?
So for me, I love the classic Halloween, Mike
Mm-hmm.
Myers.
Mm-hmm.
I just something about because anyone can make a slasher film, so to speak. You could just, but I love the background story behind Michael and like
Yeah.
what drives him uh to basically want to kill. And actually a lot of times where you watch especially like the original, you just get that blank, okay, it's a killer who comes to this town, and just starts killing everybody. But it isn't until you get into Halloween 2 where it gives the reasoning that he's coming back to kind of finish the job, so to speak, to go after his younger sister. And then I love the Rob Zombie uh, versions where it kind of takes you back even further when he was in the institution,
Mm-hmm.
and like how he was bullied as a kid growing up. And it's just I love the core storyline behind the character itself of why it makes him such a good evil person.
Yeah, one hundred
Yeah,
percent, one
I
hundred
agree.
percent. We were talking about this on the other video, but I'm not a big horror film person. Like, there's certain storylines that intrigue me sometimes, but most of the movies that I saw weren't good. Like, the storylines weren't good. Yeah, it was cool jump scares here and there, but I just was pushed off of horror films for a long time because of the bad storytelling. But one story that I remember and one movie that I remember that really freaked me out, and it's I haven't seen it since then, was Jeepers Creepers. That movie was probably one of my favorite horror films. And on top of that, my brothers, at the time, my brothers literally tell me that this guy's real in real life. So that, on top of me being a kid, that movie like one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. Probably now it won't be as bad, but i
I don't
I don't
know.
know why.
He rises, dude. He rises every 25 years or something like that.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. They're
Or
fucked.
it was like,
It's
yeah, this
coming
is
up.
based on a true story. I'm like, fuck, dude. But yeah, Jeepers Creepers is one of my favorites.
Because he's definitely going to come all the way to your town in the Bay
Yeah,
Area
exactly.
to San Bruno to get your ass.
Yeah.
Right. That's awesome. Cool. I think I'm ready for this. I
Yeah.
don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to say anything. Tony already got like a little glimpse of what it was, but I want true reactions on this one. I think you're in for some crazy shit.
And just to throw that out there, George, since me and you don't really know what it is, but from what I gathered, it and what Ken was saying was it's a low budgeted film. Like it's $2 million. You said it was
2 million for
Marcus.
this one.
Yeah, so it's literally like just keep that in mind. It's not a huge production because I thought it was going to be, but
Well, after I see this, I do have my take on low budget indie films, just in general.
okay,
But I'll give you my full take on that after the fact I see
cool.
the trailer.
Perfect. Love it.
You guys ready?
Oh yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm excited.
You survived the most famous serial killer since Jack the Ripper. The 5-year anniversary is coming up. I think a lot of people would really like to hear from you after all this time. Want to know what it's like to be in the presence of that kind of evil. What goes through your brain when he's close enough to you. You feel his breath.
Whoa, George,
My last
close your
Friday
eyes,
night.
George. And it's just like that, right?
Almost did, but luckily it was over.
Oh. How can you be sure it was really him? I could feel it. Who's this Santa? He's scaring my kid.
Yeah, he's scaring me too.
Hey, Santa's handing out presents!
Why would he come back here? Even if he was alive, which he isn't. Wouldn't you want to get as far away from here as possible, as far away from you?
We both know this isn't over. I have to go back to the Terrifier.
It's still buried there, isn't it?
Might be the only thing that could stop them.
There he is. Golly.
Looking forward to the best Christmas ever, filled with fun, smiles, and laughter.
Hey, that.
Nothing screams the holidays like bloodshed.
Wait,
Holy
can I
crap.
can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I do think that was way better than the teaser trailer we got from.
Oh yeah.
That was way better. The thing that kind of sucks though is that it's coming out in October and not December because it is a Christmas themed movie. But they said Christmas comes early, so that was kind of like a way of putting it. They had a look like there's some comedic factors to him as well, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen the Here's Johnny kind of when he looked through the door. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And that's what he says right in that movie. I forgot.
Yeah,
It's like,
here's
Johnny.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. But it looks like there's a good storyline to this. I'm actually impressed. But yeah, you see that comedic factor to him too. So I like it. This one was dope.
Before I go, George, what do you think?
Yeah, so for me, typically it's not usually like my cup of tea for movies go, but just based off of the trailer, I find it quite interesting because I noticed that two tones, like the comedic factor to him, but also what I find quite fascinating is anytime that you have a antagonistic kind of killer or slasher, they're very mysterious. They try to keep themselves separated from the public eye. This motherfucker's just walking around like saying, "Hi, here I am." Like I'm
Yeah.
sitting here and I'm about to kill you. You know, it's like I love how he kind of has that ballsy kind of attitude where they can kind of mesh some comedic moments, but then you could tie it into this very kind of rich, gory kind of horror aspect to it. But to go what I was going to say before we saw the trailer, just with like low budget indie films in general, I kind of tip my hat off to filmmakers that do movies like this, because it's a dog eat dog world in the filmmaking business. So to easily get a high production budget film from a major studio is like, and then you get these A-lister actors, you know, and it's like, okay, well, if it's a great movie, you know, that's awesome. But I love kind of the underdog kind of filmmaker, if you will, that doesn't have a big budget and they want to make a movie that studios may overturn, or they may like not even want to look at the script, you know. So it's like, if you can have it made, whether 10 people have seen your movie or 100 people have seen your movie, just the fact that you got your movie made, I always love to take that little extra step into focusing on independent indie films just for that notion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the
100%.
crazy thing is, I'm going to tell you this, George, Terrifier 2 was made off a $250,000 budget, and it ended up making 15 million in theaters, which is very good for how many theaters. I don't even know how many theaters was in it, but it couldn't be many. But it became like it became this bigger thing than it thought it was going to be. And even you can see it now with you not watching it. You explained exactly what I explained to Tony in my last video of how different this killer is than any other person. He's out there in the middle of doing whatever he wants to do. I don't want to spoil the other movies. You have to watch them, but he thinks in real time. So he thinks, hey, I want to go do this. That killer walks and goes and does that, and then goes back to doing what he wants to do.
And it's
Where
almost like the way
not
that they
linear.
do it. It's like the way that they do it. When you look at movies like satire or slapstick kind of, you know, knockoff horror films like the Scary Movie franchise, it's meant to put the characters in a situation where it's like, oh my God, they're idiots. You know, it's like they shouldn't be doing it, but they're doing it. Where this character is dead serious of what he's doing. But it's like, you know what? I'm a badass. You know, I just killed somebody, or I'm about to kill somebody, but before I do, I'm going to sit here and have myself a little snack in the kitchen. You know,
The
and
cool
it's
thing
like,
about that, George, is that they're both are playing in this movie. The main characters is the person getting killed and the person trying not to get killed, and they show them being in different scenes and them and their trips on where they're going and how they get there. And then this person's like, oh, they're there, I'm gonna go there. This person's like, I'm here, that person's there. You never see that. It's always, like you said, someone's chasing someone where they're not trying to really chase each other. It just happens to be that way. And the comedic aspect is great because he is a clown at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
right.
And I don't know if you noticed too, but the gore that you said is, if you saw like that one scene, she was fully covered. There's no stones unturned when it comes to what they're doing. The one scene where Art was missing his head and it was connected to his body still, they show those things. Like, these things are shown, they're filmed, they're not panned away. It's a crazy. One
I will
more
say
thing
though, if I
Go-
was an actor and I was in that movie and I had that shower scene, I'd be messing up take after take just to keep on doing it over and over again.
Oh, that's awesome. The other side of it too is that was $2 million right there, and it didn't look like it did not look like they missed out on anything. They did a great job. The filming looked really clear.
Is
really
it actually
clean.
just me? But it seems like when you have a lower budget, it forces the filmmaker to want to give this bigger thing, where if you have a bigger production budget, a lot of the times the graphics and the CGI or whatever they're using looks very crappy. Sometimes it kind of looks like it's vice versa, because again, it's, now you guys know I'm biased, so I'm going to use a Disney reference here. It's almost like with Disneyland and Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World has all the land they could possibly utilize, but they choose not to use it, but yet they know they have it in their back pocket. Where with Disneyland, it forces their hand to get creative. And that's where I feel like how when you have like a low budget indie film as to a high production studio film, that's where you can kind of like, it's almost like they rely on their laurels too much and they get a little bit too comfortable. And then sometimes you have it in your head, oh, I'm going to create a kick-ass movie. But then in the final cut, it's like, it doesn't look too good to me.
Yeah. And the thing is, he does use some CGI in the last couple ones, but it was very minimal. And it's certain scenes where they kind of, you're like, oh, you kind of have to do that.
Yeah.
But the last one, that $250,000 budget, 50,000 of that was actually was invested by private investors to make full special practical effects. So $50,000 of that budget was for all the practical effects for some of the scenes, which is impressive. I'm all for practical effects. If you can pull it off and it looks great, especially in a slasher film, that's the best. I don't want to see CGI all the time everywhere.
And that's why, like, even if you look at a classic film like Jaws, I mean, yeah, the shark didn't work 3/4 of the time, but it was very realistic. Now you watch a movie like The Meg, and it's like, okay, you could tell that this creature is CGI, and it's like it throws you off. It throws you off the notion that even though obviously like this creature doesn't exist right now, but it's like a cheap cop out. It's like a magic trick that it's like, you know, it is, and you already know the ways behind it. It's like, oh yeah, well they just created it with a computer, you know. It's like it doesn't give you that notion to say, whoa, how did they do that? That is like so freaking awesome.
And one thing that I love about movies like this, it's definitely one of those, yeah, it's low budget, but it's definitely going to stem off into something bigger. Maybe in this franchise, maybe in a different kind of franchise, maybe a different writer or director or whatever the case may be. But low budget movies like this, even though they have low budget, it still has or draws inspiration for sure. And
Correct.
you know, not that this is the first clown killer that we've ever seen, but it's a different aspect to from what I'm looking at in the trailer. It's a different aspect to the clown. So it's pretty cool that we're gonna see that. But like I said, I feel like something like this can branch off to other inspirations because of this movie.
And see, I hope this remains like this, and I hope this franchise continues to grow. But I don't want to see it $100 million, $200 million budget. It doesn't need that. It needs to stay true to what it is. And it already has. There's already a lot of controversy about the second one. That you have to see it. That like I think I told Tony that one scene in it was just one of the most brutal things I've seen in a movie ever. And I was telling Tony, I had to watch it twice. That's how, like, I had to make sure that I wasn't fucking crazy, because I was like, dude, did I just see what I fucking just saw? But after that initial thought, I mean, dude, I was like, this is brilliant, especially for you, George, like someone that just studies film and just loves film so much. You really have to like watch that movie. And I'm not going to tell you what scene it is. So if you ever watch it, I want you to come back and tell me the scene.
Number two.
Number two.
Number
you got to
two.
watch number one, but number
Right.
two is the continuation
Okay.
of what's going to happen. But yeah, there's already controversy around this one that it might just be overly violent. But
now, is this film the only one based off of During the Holidays?
it is, but the people that are in it is from the second one. The first one's kind of its own thing.
Kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, the second one is the continuation of this third story. So I'm very excited for this. I'm gonna go see it in theaters. I'm gonna go see it with my sister. We already planned our date for it. It's gonna be awesome. I hope that it's almost one of those where I hope it gets bigger than it is, but at the same time I kind of want to keep it to myself, kind of thing. You know, it's that good. I'm impressed. It sucks that it took me so long to get into it, but I'm full steam ahead with it. Just kind of like Tony's House of the Dragon stuff, man. I love it now that I watched it. Yeah, I'm late to the show, but who cares as long as it's getting seen, right?
Facts.
Cool. Awesome. So before we head out, what we got, Tone?
No, it was none.
Oh, good. You're just doing some craziness.
Yeah,
All right.
You know me, bro.
Better watch out. Jeepers Creepers waiting outside your door, bro.
Oh, don't say that. I'm gonna go sleep tonight.
But yeah, if you guys get some time, go watch the first and second one. If you do, let me know. I would love to have you guys back on so we can talk it over. And I haven't been excited about a movie like this since Deadpool, so I guess it hasn't been that long. But
Yeah, but
I'm still in this genre. I haven't been. That's the biggest thing. I haven't been excited for this genre like at all.
it's a horror film that
It's decent for
yeah.
once.
And I hate saying that because I'm probably ignorant to the fact that there's a lot out there, but just the ones that I've seen kind of just turn me off to the genre. But so I mean, yeah, I probably sound ignorant, but that's the reason why I have those feelings of not enjoying horror films, because storylines just don't intrigue me. But I do definitely need to dip back in there for sure.
Yeah, exactly. All right. If y'all can tell us where we can find you on the social medias, George, kick it off.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
And as of
Sweet.
late, really sticky.
Yes.
Especially it's Friday night.
A lot of times, that's why it's best to do it in the shower. You know?
Wrong channel.
I know, right?
Wrong channel. Tones,
guys, you guys can find me on social media, Tones_TV on all platforms. Go ahead and follow my YouTube channel, Bad Thoughts Studio, where I do TV shows, movies, trailer breakdowns, stuff like that. You guys can find me at my podcast with TheCandidCamperr, Bad Thoughts Podcast. We have some cool stuff coming up soon, so make sure you guys go check that out on YouTube and Spotify.
Sweet. Thank you. Once again, you guys can find me here on my channel. We did a little bit of a rebranding. I'm still doing trailer reactions. Just drop the names, just TheCandidCamperr now, because it's easier to find me. So tell your friends. Don't forget to like and subscribe to both of y'all. These people down here, they're wonderful people. Also, go find me on Instagram at TheCandidCamperr with an extra R, and go find me on TikTok, TheCandidCamperr with an extra R. And we got some really, really cool stuff coming up over on the Bad Thoughts podcast. So stay tuned. Have a good night, y'all. Peace.